Highlights of Donald Trump's hours on the witness stand at his New York civil fraud trial. Associate D. Press. Donald Trump went off. During 3.5 hours of testimony on Monday, the Republican denied Attorney General Letitia James's alleged tie-ons that he duped banks by exaggerating his wealth on financial statements used to make deals and secure loans. Trump's often verbose responses, replete with anecdotes about development projects, the intricacies of property valuations and complaints that he was a victim of a political witch hunt, led a frustrated Judge Arthur Engoron to warn, "This is not a political." Below are your comments. Trump testified that he typically kept $300 million to $400 million in the bank, saying, "I've had a lot of cash for a long time." Sure he does. We can just take his word for it. He ruled against me without knowing anything about me. He ruled against the Trump Organization because he knows about the many, many instances of fraud. Lying on loan documents, insurance or taxes to gain an advantage is illegal. It's fraud. Why would the people who have no horse in the race exaggerate his property values? The only ones that profit from it are the Trumps, so it's only logical that they racked up the values for loans and lowered the values for tax and insurance purposes. He tore into the Democrat, accusing her of pursuing him to advance her political career. Her job is to go after criminals like Trump. Sure, that could help her political career. Doing your job well often helps your career. MAGA. Maya's got arrested. My attorney got arrested. More attorneys got arrested. Many attorneys getting arrested. Making attorneys get attorneys. My administration's getting arrested. My advisors got arrested. Manager also got arrested. My associates got arrested. More associates getting arrested. Please wait a moment. Next news. Voters are dreading a Trump-Biden rematch. Enter RFK Jr. The New York Times. A looming rematch next year between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump has left voters deeply dissatisfied with their options, longing for alternatives and curious about independent candidates such as Robert F. Kennedy Jr., according to new polls of 6 battleground states conducted by the New York Times and Siena College. Both Biden and Trump are viewed unfavorably by a majority of voters in these states. 1/5 of voters don't like either of them, and enthusiasm about the. Below are your comments. Let's face it, money, especially dark money, controls elections. First thing on my agenda would be to do away with Citizens United and level the playing field. The little guy, regardless of his or her qualifications, don't have a chance against big money. RFK is not an answer to anything. If in the end we're forced to vote for Joe or Donnie, which looks like we might be, I'm voting for He guy that loves his country and democracy, not the one that constantly tries to tear it apart. Our personal gain. Easy choice really. With 331 million people in this country, how do we only end up with these two? What a sad commentary on the state of our republic and its lack of leadership and interest by the pay. Opal. I do think we need a third party with a candidate that appeals to the general populace of the U.S. I also believe there is not a person living in this country that can keep us out of wars. When a person says that he alone can, he is lying to get votes. Talk is cheap and promises are made that can. The decline in the U.S. standard of living is having a number of negative consequences, including Next news. Very reluctant, Maggie Haberman predicts Ivanka Trump's strategy for testimony. HuffPost. The New York Times reporter also revealed an element of Donald Trump's testimony that surprised her. Below are your comments. Ivanka has learned from the best of them, her father, who taught her to first and foremost look OUT for number one. So her primary tactic will be to keep herself free from collateral damage. If she is able to help her father and brothers, okay. But that's not the most important thing. I'm sure that she is going to play the same cards that Eric and Jr. did. I know nothing, I saw nothing, I wasn't aware of anything, and other people did it. While I am glad that she was forced to testify, I don't expect anything to come of her testimony that is helpful to the case. Ivanka and Don Jr. should have gone to prison back in 2012 when they were under investigation by the Manhattan DA for fraud in connection with a Trump property in the Soho neighborhood of Manhattan. They were this close to being indicted. And then one of Daddy's lawyers, who was a big campaign cunt, she already distanced herself by her testimony in the January 6 investigation. She stated when asked if she believed Bill Barr when he said there was no election fraud to IQ 45. She answered that she had no reason not to believe Bill Barr and what he was saying about no electio and fraud. Pretty bad when I don't understand how anything and everything that represents a company is not the owner's responsibility. Beyond a shadow of doubt, if it were getting favorable coverage, he'd be taking credit for it. Next news. U.S. Army says it needs $3 billion for 155mm artillery rounds and production. Reuters. The U.S. Army needs Congress to approve $3.1 billion to buy 155mm artillery rounds and expand production to quickly replace stocks depleted by shipments to Ukraine and now Israel, an Army official said on Tuesday. The U.S. and allies have sent more than 2 million rounds of 155 ammunition to Ukraine in support of its effort to repel Russia's invasion more than 600 days ago. Doug Bush, the chief weapons buyer for the Army, told reporters that supplemental funding currently being considered. Below are your comments. $800 billion defense budget isn't enough? More money for the military-industrial complex and its political friends, agents. Have them hold a bake sale outside the gate at Fort Carson, just like my kids' school does when they want money for the theater program. Or, they could ask the Taliban for their weapons caches back, that they left there. Amazing, more money needed. Too bad the US can't keep ammo in our ammo dump instead of sending it to Ukraine and Israel. Our country is very vulnerable. The strategic oil reserves are being depleted. Sure seems like the country is not prepared. It's time to bring our troops home from all over and reboot. The U.S. has fired rounds in Syria on a round-the-clock basis, apparently driving the Marines manning the guns to serious brain damage. Enough with this senseless shelling of everything in sight, because the U.S. is supplying the ammo free of charge and the military has no common sense. It's really. Next news. A Republican senator said, "Nobody's buying." Tuberville's claims that blocking hundreds of promotions hasn't impacted military readiness. Business Insider. Dan Sullivan's comments come less than a week after he and other GOP senators tore into Tuberville and the Senate floor. Below are your comments. And yet they have no problem letting him block the nomination, since his blocking aligned with their interest. If McConnell wants the nomination goes through, he can start punishing Tuberville by stripping his committee assignment. I guess old Tubbs knows more than our leaders at the Pentagon. Makes sense that a washed-up coach knows more. Making decisions on a meaningless game has to be way more difficult than making decisions on the leaf. And death situations our men and women in uniform will see. Poor Tubbs, he is just M. Something is wrong if one member of the Senate cannot be overruled by a majority of his peers. I'm curious to know what expertise Tuberville has in military affairs that makes him better qualified than actual experts in the field to make this determination, and 2. What evidence he used to buttress his opinion that he had any idea what he was talking about. It's a complete cop-out. And the Democrats are not taking advantage of it. If it were me, I would do nothing but put up military promotions day after day, so that when this Tor is up for re-election, I would run continuous clips of his voting against military families who so receive pay increases. Next news. White House urges caution on polls showing Biden in trouble. Reuters. Washington. Reuters. The White House urged caution on Tuesday regarding opinion polls showing Democratic President Joe Biden lagging behind leading Republican candidate Donald Trump. A New York Times, Siena poll on Sunday showed Biden trailing Trump in 5 of 6 battleground states, with a year to go until the November 2024 presidential election. There's going to be a lot of polls out there, White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre told reporters when asked about them. Below are your comments. Cry more, get your tissue box ready. Bekwase Trump is seemingly heading towards a landslide victory. Currently Trump's pulling in the most black support in modern history for any Republican president. Huge Latino support as well, and Trump is pulling away in every major poll from SLE*PY PT Joe. I don't believe in one or two polls. When all the polls say Biden is losing, now you have my attention. Why is it so hard for the bluid at RDS to understand why Trump is winning? One critical, upfront, flaw in any way too early polls is the large number of undecided. Many of the younger generations are too politically skeptical to concede as much compromise as they make in 12 months. No political scientist will label such abstinence as future voters for any particular. Yep, he was in trouble in 2020 until 2 o'clock in the morning. They have it figured out, and they have the media and justice departments in their pockets. Next news. Trump legal news brief. Ivanka Trump set to follow father, brothers on the witness stand in financial fraud trial. Yahoo News. Ivanka Trump, the eldest daughter of former President Donald Trump, is expected to take the stand next day in the $250 million financial fraud lawsuit. Federal prosecutors in Washington, meanwhile, refute Donald Trump's bid to get the 2020 election interference case against him tossed. Below are your comments. If Mar-a-Lago is worth $1.5 billion, then shouldn't the county tax him on that value? Last year it was valued by the state at about $33 million and he paid $600,000 in property tax. 45x value would be, I guess, around $27 in taxes? I am really wondering if they believe they did things lawfully and the lawsuit is unjustifiable. Why does everyone in Trump either try not to testify or distance from the financial statements based on which the company was evaluated? Shouldn't they have just done the opposite? To provide evid. In response to a question about a 2021 statement of financial condition, Trump says his focus at the time was on keeping our country safe, drawing laughs from the courtroom. The state attorney reminds Trump he was not president in 2021. Trump left office on Jan. 20, 2021. Trump is going to cost himself a lot of money when his real estate taxes are based on the value that Trump is testifying that his properties are worth. Next news. Oregon GOP senators who boycotted legislature file federal lawsuit in new effort to seek re-election. Associated Press. Republican state senators in Oregon who boycotted the legislature for a record 6 weeks earlier this year have filed a federal lawsuit as part of their efforts to seek re-election despite a recent vote-approved measure aimed at preventing walkouts. The senators are challenging an amendment to the state constitution approved by voters last year bars lawmakers from re-election if they have 10 or more unexcused absences. Below are your comments. It is a states' right and state constitution issue. Not showing up to work is not a free speech issue. They had every right to speak out against the issue, but to not show up to work is another thing. By not showing up to form a quorum, they denied representation not only to their voters, but to voters in the rest of the state. They were completely aware of the consequences of their walkout and flaunted it anyway, stalling the people's legislature from doing the people's business. Let them kick rocks and maybe learn. When the voters have made it clear, they should heed the voters' decision and the law signed into legal stand. They knew the rules when they threw their temper tantrum. Bar them from running permanently. It's what the state's voters wanted, by a hefty margin. Let me guess, every single one of the protesters also supports right-to-work laws and at-will employment policies. Next news. House votes to censure Representative Rashida Tlaib over her Israel-Hamas rhetoric in a stunning rebuke. ASIC. IATED Press. The House voted late Tuesday to censure Democratic Rep. Rashida Tlaib of Michigan, the only Palestinian American in Congress. An extraordinary rebuke of her rhetoric about the Israel-Hamas war. The 234 to 188 tally came after enough Democrats joined with Republicans to censure Tlaib, a punishment one step below expulsion from the House. The debate on the censure resolution on Tuesday afternoon was emotional and intense. Below are your comments. Remember when women in Congress were the voices of moderation and reason? Now we have MTG, Boebert, Omar, and Tlaib. She is inciting anti-Semitism. Does she know that Jewish Americans live in her state? She represents them too. She has an obligation to do her job right. American Jews also pay her salary there on Capitol Hill. It is Hamas practicing genocide on the Jews, not the other way around. Israel is only protecting itself from the cowardly terrorists who attack Jewish citizens and then hide behind their own when Israeli military comes to stop the attack. Hamas must be eliminated. She represents Hamas in Congress. To censure Rashida Tlaib is wrong? I and many don't agree or even like her. As an American, she has the right to say what she feels she needs to say without censorship or prosecution. We are losing our freedom of speech by the day. Next news. Democrats win in several states on abortion rights and other highlights from Tuesday's elections. As Associated Press. Democrats had plenty of good news to celebrate in Tuesday's off-year elections and more evidence they can win races centered on the national debate over abortion. Abortion rights supporters won an Ohio ballot measure and the Democratic governor of Beat Red Kentucky held onto his office by campaigning on reproductive rights and painting his opponent as extremist. A Democrat won an open seat on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court after campaigning on his pledge to uphold abortion rights. Below are your comments. None featured Trump on the ballot or his ability to turbocharge turnout of infrequent voters. To what effect? He has failed in both elections to turn out more voters than he's turned off. Other candidates don't get to benefit from a protective and biased electoral college. I knew the Republicans' abortion views would hurt them. I am a conservative and pro-choice, and there are a lot of us around. We just aren't the ones in power. I think the authoritarian, win at any cost approach taken by the GOP was a big turnoff for people who really want fairness, civility, and an end to the constant name-calling and exaggerations that divide us into us versus them gangs. Treating such large percentages of citizens like they Has Trump told us which elections were rigged yet? Next news. Wisconsin GOP leader downplays pressure to impeach state election administrator. Associated Press. Wisconsin's Republican Assembly leader on Tuesday downplayed pressure he's receiving from former President Donald Trump and fellow GOP lawmakers to impeach the state's nonpartisan elections administrator, saying such a vote is unlikely to happen. The Senate voted last month to fire Wolf, but later admitted the vote was symbolic and had no legal effect. Below are your comments. In February 2018, the Wisconsin Elections Commission, comprising 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, voted for Wolf to serve as its interim administrator, succeeding Michael Haas. She was appointed interim administrator March 2, 2018, and was unanimously confirmed by the Wisconsin State Senate. Is there no end to the GOP, MAGA fact-free and aggressive pursuit of civil servants who upheld the W after the 2020 election? It's old and worn out and a losing argument for the 75% of the country that have seen the mounds of evidence showing that yes, Joe Biden did win the not to Mentio. When a Republican talks moderation, he's pandering to moderates, but his subsequent actions will always pander to extremists. Lying and half-truths is the standard language of the GOP. Over 100,000 registered cons have left the state since 2020. The figure is from a ConSec of state. Next news. DOJ special counsel tells Congress politics played no role in Hunter Biden investigation. USA Today. Justice Department Special Counsel David Weiss told Congress he wasn't blocked from investigating who Biden and politics played no role in the case. Below are your comments. Weiss has been investigating Hunter Biden for 5 years and has yet to produce a crime, a material witness, or evidence. Meanwhile, Trump has been arrested 4 times this year and is currently sitting in a courtroom. The Republicans attempt to both sides. This is failing miserably. Meanwhile, the GOP are ones playing politics. They are after a private citizen. Yet they stopped Jared investigation. Who, when working for our gov, used that influence to get billions from Saudis. That to GOP is not Roth investigating, but Hunter is? Hunter Biden did nothing to dispel the belief he had sway with his father. But that's not against the law. And Joe Biden is hardly going to jeopardize a 50-year political career for a few $1,000s. But if you're GOP and this tempest in a teapot is all you got, go for it. Sounds equal in Almos. The fact that Hunter Biden has been pressed to be charged with a gun charge that basically no other person in his position has been charged with federally means politics has been involved. Next news. Biden will meet with United Auto Workers president in Illinois on Thursday. Associated Press. President Joe Biden on Thursday will meet in Belvidere, Illinois, with the head of the United Auto Workers Union, and the two leaders are expected to highlight plans to reopen an auto factory that St. Lantis wanted to close. The White House announced in a statement Tuesday afternoon that during the visit, Biden will deliver remarks and meet with UAW members and the union's president, Shawn Fain. The event will be an opportunity for the president and Fain to publicly showcase tentative contract. Below are your comments. Plant will close when overpriced, poorly built vehicles won't sell. Even Biden can't ignore the laws of economics. 89% of America's workforce is non-union, 11% is union. The 11% equates to about 17 million union workers. That's a lot of votes, and the Democrats know it, even if the current administration was trying to put them out of work, due to mandated EVs. Plants will stay open a year or two and the losses will force them to close again. With failed policies showing up in Joe's polls. Now to gain a new avenue for votes? Here is Joe the union man to shake your hand. The president of the UAW has no say in reopening of plants. Next news. Biden-Xi meeting in San Francisco still on track but no major breakthroughs expected. Associated Press. The anticipated meeting between President Joe Biden and Chinese leader Xi Jinping is on track for next week on the sidelines of Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit in San Francisco, but the White House is not expecting the face-to-face to result in major changes to the relationship between the two nations, according to a person familiar with the planning. The White House announced late last month that U.S. and China had come to an agreement in principle for Biden and Xi to speak to each other. Below are your comments. Talking is never a bad thing. Wars are a bad thing. Keep on talking. Biden, in person, is shockingly old looking. Clearly demented. Feeble in mind, body, and mincing stride. She will see this again. He will think how corrupt America is for putting this one step from the grave man as president. Obama calls the shots obviously. It his agenda. No debate. Joe is simple. Pro tip: don't call him a dictator during negotiations. If the US wants to improve relations with China, a good place to start would be to come clean about the origins of COVID. Next news. Trump widens lead over Biden in new CNN poll. Politico. Just 28% said things are currently going very or fairly well in the country under Biden's presidency. Below are your comments. Biden is not it for 2024. The DNC is taking so long to wake up to that fact, they're probably gonna put the nation in the same spot we were in with Hillary in 2015. I would think it would be 65-35 Trump myself. A sturdy chair could beat Trump in a head-to-head contest. That said, most voters find Biden to be less favorable to a sturdy chair. You had a good run, Joe. You did your job of beating Trump in 2020. It's time to enjoy your golden years, and let someone competent take the reins. The biggest surprise isn't the polling numbers, it's that the MSM and liberal sites are even reporting it. Guess that tells you they want someone else to run instead of Biden. The polls are bogus political propaganda. Biden is doing a great job as POTUS, and has my vote for his re-election. He just needs to have Dems control the House and Senate so the nation can move forward and our national security will be more secure because Biden will continue to unify NATO and the EU. Next news. Biden administration urges U.S. court to uphold asylum restrictions. Reuters. A lawyer for the administration of U.S. President Joe Biden on Tuesday told an appeals court that a judge was wrong to block a rule imposing new restrictions on asylum seekers at the U.S.-Mexico border. A three-judge panel of the Ninth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Pasadena, California, heard the government's appeal of a decision that the rule adopted earlier this year violates federal immigration law, which explicitly states crossing the border illegally should not be a bar to asylum. Below are your comments. The law is intended for legitimate asylum cases, not job seekers. Seems appropriate to bar illegals for starting off their citizenship as a criminal. We don't want criminals that will just turn into Democrat voters. Isn't it amazing that our laws mean little to nothing to the activists arguing for a cause? The laws are not suggestions. They are legal enforcement tools meant for a reason. Stop the insanity and enforce the laws. That illegal immigration rule applies only to political refugees in flight for their life, not for economic migrants. Next news. Muslim Democrats, horrified by Ryan Zinke's bill to expel Palestinians, call it pure bigotry. Huff Post. The Montana Republicans' symbolic bill represented the latest escalation of political rhetoric CTED to the Israel-Gaza war. Below are your comments. It's a legitimate idea that we should all consider. There's nothing immoral, illegal, or unconstitutional about exercising caution about we allow entry into the country. Grown-ups have to consider that there are ideologies incompatible with our own. It's not fascism or bigotry, it's about U.S. internal security, and they are not citizens, so the U.S. reserves the right to refuse, revoke visas at any time there's a possible security risk to its actual citizens. Get these people out of Congress. They are more concerned about actually a good interim safety measure, not a permanent solution, but a good one that could be renewed as needed. At a time like this, with them violently protesting around the country, this bill makes perfect sense. Unfortunately, our government, who is in charge of Americans' safety, rarely do anything that makes sense. Next news. I will not be silenced. Rashida Tlaib hits back at congressional censure motion. The Guardian. Sole Palestinian American in U.S. Congress defends her criticism of Israel's actions in Gaza and urges lawmakers to call for ceasefire. Below are your comments. The Squad. The left-wing version of the Freedom Caucus. They make the most noise, get the most headlines, represent a small fraction. We've been assaulted by the fringes of both sides, and the middle majority has no voice. Why is she not insisting for Hamas returning all the people kidnapped and detained by Hamas? You would think this would be her first priority. All we hear from her is "I have been misunderstood," and insisting on Palestinians' rights, the same people that have stated over and over they want to destroy ISR. Dear Democrats and Republicans, although we may have our differences, we can at least agree on one thing. We must not allow anyone who supports terrorism and advocates for destruction of Israel in our democracy House of Representatives. If she would stand up and insist that Hamas release the hostages, we would see how fast a ceasefire would happen. Next news. Biden campaign releases first TV ad speaking to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. NBC News. The Biden campaign has released a TV ad speaking to Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders. It's the first in an intense push to target the burgeoning demographic, campaign representatives say. Below are your comments. My nickname for Joe is Mr. Blankness. He always has a blank stare on his face. Election time. Time for the Dems to fire up the identity politics agenda. A message to Asian voters, one for Black voters, one for Latino voters, one for Indian voters, one F or tall voters, one for short voters, one for skinny voters, one for fat voters, on and on ad nauseam. Why not just one, for? He could care less about Asians. He did squat for Maui. He cares not a bit about them, or anyone else who can't line his pocket. Nearly half of all Asian Americans are Chinese Americans. While both parties have been pushing xenophobia for the last few years, the Dems have been ramping the hate through the media, secretly arresting hundreds of Chinese American academics on spy charges, only to release 99% of them after months. Next news. Yellen says Republicans' IRS funding cut would hurt customer service goals. Reuters. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said on Tuesday that the Internal Revenue Service will be able to electronically accept 20 additional tax forms by early 2024, but warned its progress in modernizing systems and improving customer service would be hurt if Congress cuts the tax agency's funding. In remarks at IRS headquarters in Washington, Yellen said the agency would commit again to answering 85% of all calls from taxpayers, with an average wait time of 5 minutes or less. The take? Yell. Below are your comments. If you experienced anything having to do with the IRS, customer service is not one of their goals. IRS has no such customer service goals. Does Yellen have any solutions for anything besides spending more money? I think she's confusing customer service with audits. Over 60% of U.S. taxpayers filled short form claiming increased standard deductions. So the top 40% get $80 billion customer service. No doubt to get those loopholes wrote into tax code by career politicians. Next news. Virginia Democrats keep control of Senate, promise continued abortion protections. HuffPost. Democrats in the state have again thwarted Republican Gov. Glenn Youngkin's pursuit of a 15-week abortion ban. Below are your comments. Looks like Youngkin didn't read the room very well. People should remember not pay attention to less than accurate polls with requisite media spin. I am convinced that the polling services go to the same people all of the time. I am almost 60 years old and have never once been asked to participate. Virginia legislator, Kentucky governor seat, the constitutional amendments in Ohio. I hope Republicans and their voters realize that today was a giant rebuke of their policies. Democrats will control both chambers of the legislature. So Youngkin failed. Gee, Youngkin really showed the GOP that he should be their next candidate for president, didn't he? Fox was really pushing this guy when he couldn't win a second term here in Virginia if it were possible, but it's not. Virginia is for lovers. And Democrats. Next news. Just 10 days before another government shutdown, Congress expands to-do list with Ukraine border. Associated Press. 10 days before a potential government shutdown, Congress is no closer to resolving the standoff and is even complicating the issue with Republican demands for border security changes as a condition or further support for Ukraine in its fight against Russia. New House Speaker Mike Johnson, ARLA, said Tuesday that Republicans do not want to close things down, but he is well aware that his predecessor, Rep. Kevin McCarthy, R. Califf, was ousted as Speaker after compromising with Democrats in Sep. Below are your comments. 10 days before a potential government shutdown, Congress is no closer to resolving the standoff. But the fake Biden impeachment, with zero evidence, is still on track. Trump is pulling the strings on Johnson. Trump wants to see the government shut down and put the blah me on Biden. How many days are they going to actually work? At every turn it looks like the GOP supports Putin. That's weird. Next news. State elections to test Democrats' turnout fears. Politico. The Biden campaign will be parsing election results for clues to help explain the president's abysmal polling. Below are your comments. We need new candidates on both sides. It would be great if the new candidates could be under 50 for a change. Ohio is 78% independent. Neither party holds sway. However, more conservative backgrounds still exist in that swing group. It would be a nice change if someone had a platform they could stand on, appreciated by all races, ages, and gender at the same time, instead of many different ones for each group they are campaigning to. At that time, hopefully, there's enough rage in the Gen Z and millennials who now want to vote to get out the younger voters. Kellyanne Conjob says it's a mystery why young Americans don't support forced births, mass bleepings, global heating, mass famine, mass refugees, book bans, LGBTQ persecution, toxic water and permanent indebtedness. They must be brainwashed. Next news. Weiss says he had authority to pursue criminal charges against Hunter Biden. CBS News. Special counsel David Weiss testified before the GOP-led House Judiciary Committee in a closed-door session Tuesday. Below are your comments. That is the pattern by some Republicans. Repeat over and over again. Why won't they believe Weiss? It doesn't fit the narrative that they are pushing, even though it's the man is telling the truth. Remember, Weiss is a Republican who was appointed by Bill Barr. He had authority but didn't find anything to file charges on. These inquiring Republicans exemplify that wonderful definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. America, the land where politicians spend more time on party business and no time the people's boozy-ness. The Republicans have trained their marks to respond to "I wonder," and "what if," and people are eyeing, by believing that innuendo, and not answers or reality. Establish facts. Next news. House censures Representative Rashida Tlaib over Israel comments. CBS News. Rashida Tlaib has been one of the most vocal critics of Israel in Congress, but her latest comments went too far for some of her colleagues. Below are your comments. Free speech isn't the issue. She does have the right to spew hatred and propaganda every hour if she likes. She is not free from the consequences of said speech, though. The voters of Michigan also have the right to free speech, and they will speak very loudly next November. Until then, those of us She doesn't have an American name, no American rights values, doesn't seem to like America. What the hell is she doing in America? The hypocrisy is overflowing. I have no issue if what she has said should be censored. What I have a problem with is several far-right Congress members have said the same or worse and that get ignored by the right. House moves to censor hate-filled anti-Semite would be a better title for this article. Next news. These 22 House Democrats voted to censure Representative Rashida Tlaib for her rhetoric on Israel, while these 4 Republicans voted against it. Business Insider. Tlaib, the sole Palestinian-American member of Congress, was censured by the House after a failed attempt by Marjorie Taylor Greene. Below are your comments. The 4 Republicans don't deserve to hold office. They hide behind free speech? No sir. The facts are in and the bomb missile was not from Israel. So that is not free speech, that is lying and instigating violence. Exactly what Democrats say Trump did on January 6. I am so sick of all embarrassing on the global stage to be involved with American politics. The credibility of America is dwindling so quickly, and with how self-centered every brainwashed follower of these politicians, I don't think these people have seen the real-world damage these people Avenue caused us. They are all airdrop Tlaib into Gaza from 10,000 feet. No parachute. Next news. Donald Trump once called for his execution. Now Yusuf Salaam will be on the New York City Council. USA Today. Yusuf Salaam, one of the Central Park Five who was exonerated for a 1989 attack on a jogger, won LA session Tuesday without opposition. Below are your comments. Congratulations Yusuf. Wishing you the best in your new position. Think of the mayor's office down the road. Build your base of support. Many of us on here will happily donate to your campaign. Wouldn't that be the best? Right up there on the top. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Exclamation mark. Dot. I love karma. This young man had everything against him. He crawled out, stood up and become a vehicle of change. A few years ago, Trump was again wanting to lock someone up, without any evidence, and now he is in court and the judge has been patient with him, but I think it will show in the pen. Good for him. I wish him well. Hope he serves honorably and sets a new standard for politicians in this time of hate and showboating. Next news. Biden says he asked Netanyahu for a pause in fighting on Monday. CBS News. I did ask him for a pause, President Biden told reporters on Tuesday. Below are your comments. Exactly what gives Mr. Biden the idea that he gets to tell Israel how to fight their war? I doubt that the aid we gave them came with conditions on how and when to fight with it. Excluding the cluster munitions we gave to Ukraine, of course. They are laughing at him like everyone else. I hope he told Biden the only answer applicable: no. When Hamas leadership already stated emphatically that they would not honor any ceasefire, when the Y had won up through October 6 but voluntarily broke it to put their own subhuman cowardice on display on October 7, and when he also catago. Another hot mess this incompetent president and his equally incompetent VP has got us into. This old, wrinkled, corrupt, lifer politician thought he could push Russia around. Next news. House censures Rashida Tlaib as she defends comments over Israel. Palestinian people are not disposable. USA Today. The House censured the only Palestinian American in Congress, Rashida Tlaib, over her remarks on Israel and Palestine. Below are your comments. Tlaib is an American, born in this country, and a representative, yet she cannot condemn the terror ISDS who took some Americans hostage. How does she not understand that a crime against American citizens occurred and it is her duty to call them out for the crime? My ancestors. I agree that the Palestinian people are not disposable. Now, just convince Hamas. She deserved the censure. Now it's time for her constituents to realize that she does not serve their interests, and they should therefore vote her out of office. Answer me this: how is one of the leaders of Hamas worth $11 billion while the people have no food or water? Next news. Ohio passes abortion ballot measure, Democrats win in Virginia, 2023 election replay. USA Today. In Tuesday's off-year elections, Americans made their voices heard on controversial ballot measures, competitive governors' races and more. Below are your comments. Oh, now Republicans are on the fence with this abortion issue. They've gotten very silent and won't even discuss it. They know that they're going to lose in most states where this issue is up for a referendum. They have only one option left. Their agenda was to force Caucasian women to have some good news for a change. Donetsk, November 7, RIA Novosti. The number of victims in the shelling of Donetsk has increased to 20, the representative office of T. He DPR in the Joint Center for Control and Coordination of Issues Related to War Crimes of Ukraine, JCCC, reported. RIA Novosti employees also came under fire. They were. Next news. Ohio votes to codify abortion rights into state constitution. HuffPost. The outcome is a huge win for pro-choice advocates in a state where many Republican lawmakers have taken extreme steps to try to ban abortion. Below are your comments. How long before the Republican Ohio state legislature tries to create a new law to override this aim? ND meant. The Ohio voters couldn't stop them from overriding the gerrymandering rules. I guess Ohioans believe women are smart enough to make informed health decisions in the privacy of their doctor's office. What a concept. You worked hard, Ohio. Congratulations. Thank you, Ohio. I can't believe Republicans keep passing laws in opposition to the majority of their constituents. Jew. Saint to placate the minority. It amazes me that they need a constitutional amendment to let women choose their own healthcare and reproductive rights. Next news. Beshear's win in Kentucky shows, once more, Democrats aren't extinct in Trump states. Politico. Republicans had sought to tie Beshear to President Joe Biden. But Beshear survived that onslaught. Below are your comments. I am not from Kentucky, though my grandfather came from Kentucky. From what I have heard, Beshear was a smart guy. He made a point of representing and supporting the people of Kentucky, not just his base, but the entire state. The same thing will happen with Joe Manchin in neighboring WV2. Vote for the person and not the party. Overturning Roe v. Wade is going to be the downfall of the GOP! The people in Kentucky just needs to open their eyes and see their state is top 5 poorest in the Union. Mitch rails about blue states, but blue states paying for his dirt poor state. What his win really shows is that the U.S. will soon collapse. Next news. Election results today could forecast 2024, 3 critical races for Joe Biden to watch. USA Today. Will abortion access continue to motivate the left? Or will President Biden's struggling poll numbers hurt Democrats down ballot? Below are your comments. Vote for America or vote Democrat, because you can't do both. We are in for round 2 of Donald J. Antichrist. Make no mistake, dismissing these polls is a fast track to losing. Losses in red states is never a good thing. Biden has really damaged USA from day one. He is not strong enough to be a leader of USA. Our students mock him all day long. He falls, he wanders, he is a national embarrassment. Criminals love him. Biden, his administration and most elected Democrats have not only been bad, they have been so bad EY don't even resemble Americans anymore. Vote them out. Next news. U.S. House censures lone Palestinian-American lawmaker over Israel comments. Reuters. The U.S. House voted on Tuesday to censure Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib, Congress's lone Palestinian, an American lawmaker, for comments she made regarding Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza. 22 Democrats joined with most Republicans in the chamber to censure Tlaib for allegedly promoting false narratives on Hamas. October 7 gun rampage in Israel and calling for the destruction of the State of Israel. Below are your comments. U.S. majority Zionist CS House censures lone Palestinian-American lawmaker over Israel comments. Does the phrase often spoke recently by the U.S. Congresswoman? From the river to the sea. for pro-Hamas, anti-Semitic eradication of Israel, and her implied eradication of J3WS. Translate in German to. Next news. Donald Trump will ditch third debate to hold rally in nearby Florida town with Hispanic majority. USA Today. Donald Trump will hold a rally Wednesday night at a stadium in Hialeah, Florida, just about a half-hour drive from the third GOP debate in Miami. Below are your comments. Trump couldn't debate well back in 2016. Why would he want to embarrass himself again? Lying Donnie plans to hold a rally in Hialeah during the Republican debate. Maybe Donnie could hold a tailgate party before the rally. Someone could serve some food and set up some games. Since the weather will be warm, someone could set up some swimming pools. Some women could cool off by going SW. Wants to be POTUS, but he's afraid to debate anymore. Let's ditch Donald Trump instead. Why isn't Trump debating? What's he afraid of? Next news. Trump is political and electoral poison. Christie blames GOP losses on former president. USA Today. Chris Christie, who is challenging Donald Trump in 2024, has repeatedly pinned GOP losses on the former president. Below are your comments. Christie tells the truth. The Democrats want Trump to be the Republican nominee. He is destroying what is left of the Republican Party. What? Ask Senator Herschel Walker what he thinks. He lost? Senator Martha McSally? She lost? Senator Dr. Oz? He lost also? I'm not a Christie fan, but he is right on point about Trump. Trump is the biggest loser of all time. Blot. Donnie's swamp is being drained. MAGA has poisoned the Republican and the voters are showing that. Republicans have fled the party. Next news. Democrat Andy Beshear beats Daniel Cameron, wins another term as Kentucky governor. HuffPost. Kentucky's incumbent governor is projected to win again as the only Democrat elected statewide in the deeply red bluegrass state. Below are your comments. It's a clear rejection of Trump. I saw Cameron's political TV ads, and those mentioned Cameron's name as much as Trump. How many lawsuits you think there will be from Cameron trying to overturn the will of the people? Trump was definitely watching this race closely this evening. He's got nothing better to do. In fact, he would have brought this up tomorrow somewhere, somehow if Danny won. Not. There's little success in running as an oxymoron. Daniel Cameron is an Uncle Clarence. Next news. Democrats hold essential Pennsylvania Supreme Court seat in latest abortion campaign test. HuffPost. Daniel McCaffrey defeated Republican Carolyn Carluccio in a judicial race where abortion rights were front and center. Below are your comments. Congratulations to Pennsylvania. This election was a blue tsunami across the country. There should be elections like this for Supreme Court justices. They act all political anyways. So much winning for Democrats and women tonight. A very good night across the country for Democrats. Good news for cons, they still control the literal worst state in the nation. GQP held the governor's mansion in Mississippi. Next news. Rupi Kaur declines White House's Diwali invite over Israel-Hamas war. CBS News. Rupi Kaur is skipping a White House Diwali celebration, saying the Biden administration is justifying genocide against Palestinians. Below are your comments. That she was even invited tells plenty about the administration's motives. The Dems must always play to what it knows is its controlling base, the progressive left, and the PR. Aggressive left despises Israel and loves Hamas. Not sure at the moment whether I am more gutted or gobsmacked. I'll get back to you. What about the 50,000 Muslims that Myanmar bleep in the past 2 years? Is she bothered by that? Next news. New Jersey Democrats notch big legislative wins after bracing for losses. Politico. Facing Republican attacks on cultural issues, Democrats stuck to pocketbook issues in statewide elections. Below are your comments. Just a great day for America, who are apparently done with GOP gerrymandering and takeover tactics. Kentucky, Ohio, New Jersey! ! The hits keep coming. A great referendum on President Joe Biden. Will conservatives finally come to grips with the facts? No matter how wounded, no matter how incompetent, no matter how strong the headwinds against Democrats may be, humans don't vote for MAGAs. Next news. Democrat Cherelle Parker elected first female mayor of Philadelphia. NBC News. Democrat Cherelle Parker has been elected the city's next mayor, NBC News projects, which will make her the first woman to hold the office. Below are your comments. Does this mean the next time I go to Philly it will be safe like when Frank Rizzo was the police guy? Right now it's dark even in the daylight. Look no further than Detroit. More of the same. Don't be expecting crime or anything else to get better. Good thing qualifications don't matter. Just another failure! Next news. Not going to endorse anyone, Youngkin sidesteps backing Trump. USA Today. The Virginia governor said he would wait for voters to decide on the 2024 Republican nominee rather than endorse anyone, including Trump. Below are your comments. Is anyone else here just tired of the Republican Party altogether? I sure am. Virginia has seen and had enough of the MAGA trash circus. G.A. Youngkin has played his MAGA card and will soon be dust in Virginia's wind. Attempted to bring MAGA operatives into Virginia government. Next news. Democratic Governor Andy Beshear fends off GOP challenger Daniel Cameron in conservative Kentucky. USAT. O'Day. Democrat Andy Beshear defeated Daniel Cameron, his Republican challenger who has spent the past 4 years as the state's Attorney General. Below are your comments. Joy. The Trump curse continues. Lol, have fun getting embarrassed again in 24. How does Moscow Mitch keep winning? Rigged? That man is Poisson. Never trust a big gut whose trial. Belle Biv DeVoe. Now you know. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.